Hey guys, this is Joseph Mazurek, and today we're celebrating the end of Season 1. Okay, maybe I'm the only one who's celebrating. To be honest, I've gotten some pushback from our listeners. A 2-month break? What? But trust me, I've thought a lot about this, and unless I want to take a break for, like a year later on, I'll have to do these smaller incremental breaks after every season. Maybe that won't always be the case, but so far we're doing this show for free because we love it, but real life has its demands. Primarily, your humble host has to go out into the world and make a living. Also, I need time to write the next big story. I'm not an especially fast writer. I have to dig in, tinker, and find my way. Right now, I'm just beginning to see the way forward on a new tale about Charles and his friends, and of course the captain. If all goes to plan, Into the Attic of the World, which was completed prior to launching the podcast, we'll have 2 more seasons before we get to what I'm working on now. One last thing. From the onset, it has been my goal to make this podcast into a truly heartfelt, exciting, and inspirational bit of storytelling. That's a lofty goal, my friends. We really are just getting started with this story. It will take endurance and inspiration to run this race all the way through to the end. So many things can happen between now and then. I feel a bit like Charles Miller, following Captain Kidd and Marshall Rabin into the woods. The goal is worthy, but success is not a foregone conclusion. So, if we have listeners who pray, please send up a prayer for me, my wife Joanna, who does such an excellent job on the recaps, and for the show in general. Would you do that? I'd really appreciate it. With all that said, thank you again for listening. The fact that you're tuning in makes all of this worthwhile. Wherever you listen to the podcast, rate us, write a review, tell a friend about the show. More than likely, you know people who would like the Blue Deck podcast, but they don't know how to get podcasts or even what a podcast is. To make it easy, good recommendations for podcast apps are Apple Podcasts for Apple users, or for anybody else, Podbean, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. There are others, but those I just mentioned should do nicely, and they're all free. Also, anyone who wants to hear the Blue Deck specifically can find links to all our episodes on our website, thebluedeck.com. Now, here's Joanna with a recap of Chapter 8.
Charles and his companions have come through the forest to find a vast circular structure filled with water. As the water drains, the secrets of the immense subterranean facility are revealed. Standing on top of the concrete ring, the kids look down upon what could only be described as an antique fantasy version of the space shuttle. The shuttle stands poised atop a launch tower, strung with dripping vines, algae caking its windows, and the name Nautilus stenciled upon its wing. Awed by the sight, the kids venture into the shuttle grounds by way of a narrow, rickety stairway. Eventually coming into the control room, Charles will finally begin to get real answers. The captain's plan involves launching the shuttle, with them in it. But before they contemplate the complexity of the shuttle launch and the suicidal risks involved, Dawn brings them back to the matter of the kidnapping. "You didn't answer Charles's question," she says, looking to Captain Kidd. "The girl who took the patch ferry, who is she?"
And now, Into the Attic of the World, Chapter 9, Castatine. Captain Kidd rocked in his office chair as the rest of us gathered round him like he was our coach and this was game time. I supposed it was, and he would lead us, his title of captain seeming to fit him so naturally, though he looked no older than we were. Ozzie, William, and I sat on one of the long rows of desks, computer monitors between us that we were using for our armrests. Dawn set her backpack in one of the swivel chairs, dug out a big bag of Skittles, and passed them out, giving each of us a handful. I watched Captain Kidd examine the colorful candies before tasting one. "Thank you," he said with a smile, then tossed the rest in his mouth all at once. I popped a selection of purples and yellows in my mouth, noticing the candy coloring had run off onto my sweaty fingers. Captain Kidd's hands, however, were totally clean, totally dry also. In fact, although he was as wet as humanly possible mere moments ago, now he was almost entirely dried out. Even the chair he sat upon looked dry, which was impossible. He looked off into the distance over our heads, his clean fingernails picking at a seam in the fabric of his seat cushion. "She's called Castatine," he said. "We knew each other a long time ago way up high in the rooftop of the world." "What's that?" Ozzie asked, his tone that of a boy who discovered some new marvel. The captain tilted his head, his expression even dreamier than before. "It's the top of the reality deck, the top of everything. Remember, one side is blue, the other side is red. That's why they're called the red and blue decks." My skin was clammy, my stomach churned. "What does that even mean?" The captain shrugged. "You'll know better if you see it." I wasn't sure I wanted to see it, or even if I could. Dawn leaned in. "Explain it to us." Captain Kidd stroked his palms together. The movement seemed to produce heat, maybe even light. "At the top of reality, there are two realms, as I've already told you. The blue side, where I'm from, is ruled by the Blue King and the Blue Queen, royalty of the highest order. They are as wise as can be for any mortals, though they're practically immortal, and they're very great in law and beauty." "Are they gods?" Don asked. "No, but they have great power. In any case, Castatine isn't from there. She's from the red, where the black unicorn reigns. Or at least he used to." "What happened to him?" Don asked. "I don't know, but he no longer lives in the rooftop of the world. Now he lives in the red attic." My stomach clenched. "Isn't that where we're going? The attic of the world?" "Yes," the captain said, "but not to the red side. I hope not, anyway." Was that supposed to be reassuring? I watched every movement of his face. "But there are monsters in the blue side too? I mean, isn't that what you told us?" Captain Kidd's lips tightened, his brow fidgeting, but his eyes, like amber crystals, were locked on mine. "There are monsters in the blue side. That is true, but not Lord Nightmare." Dawn brought us back to the question at hand, the main question. "Fine," she said. "We'll get back to that in a minute if we have to. But how do you know Castatine?" Captain Kidd studied Dawn's face, then looking to the rest of us, he said, "In the rooftop of the world, where the red and blue decks meet, in between there's a place called the Gossamer Gardens. It's almost like—" "Eden?" I heard myself say. The captain looked at me. "Sure, in a way it is. It's a very special place." His voice seemed to hum in my ears. "There's a well in the garden where people come from all over to draw water and tell stories. At the well, sunlight plays tricks, the air is thin, and when the wind blows across the honeysuckle vines, all of life feels like fantasy. It's the best." He rubbed his cheek. "That's where you met her," Don said. The captain nodded slowly. "But the well in the Gossamer Gardens is no ordinary watering hole. It's the downward-facing door, the gateway from the rooftop into the attic of the world. We knew the place was unusual and somewhat restricted, and it was dangerous. Kids could get lost there. Our elders told us that many times." I watched the captain's changing expression. Boys, even magical ones it seemed, were too curious for their own good and often went places they shouldn't. I was feeling that same way, sitting on the control room desk between a pair of dead computers, my friends all around me. We were in a place we had no business being, contemplating heroics that would likely get us killed and for a purpose we didn't understand. The captain said, "Castatine and I would gather water in buckets lowered down on ropes, but also
We would look into the unknown darkness and smell its strange perfumes and listen to its music. William swallowed his candies. You could hear the music from other worlds? He always was interested in music. The captain nodded. Dawn whispered, "And Castatine fell in, didn't she? Like Tiki Tiki Timbo down the well." The captain sighed, giving her another of those sad smiles. "That's right. I tried to save her. I climbed down with a rope, but that was a problem. At the time I didn't understand the doorways, that the water would take her to the red deck below, but the rope would take me to the blue side, and I didn't realize how difficult it would be to get back up." Considering the green Skittles in my damp palm, I said, "You're like Jack with a pocket full of magic beans, but you didn't know how to use them." "I guess so," the captain agreed. "In any case, I lost her." He sat forward, taking off his hat and hiding his face in a hand. What could we say? Distantly, I heard the old pipes in the floor grumble. Water oozed from sagging ceiling tiles and drizzled down the walls in filthy trickles. Dawn had moved in close to the young captain. She stood over him, and when she stroked the back of his head, he looked up at her. "What was she like?" she asked. Dawn had seen Castatine in our neighborhood, was apparently frightened by her, but the fear she'd shown before, or maybe it was just a case of the heebie-jeebies, was gone now. Now she was brightened with the affectation of a girl who smells romance in the air. Dawn was probably imagining a tragic love story, a young girl with a head full of dreams betrayed by her own sweet passions. Yet I pictured someone entirely different. I imagined a creature of broken purpose, like a vampire. In my mind, Castatine had bloodless, pale skin and big, dark eyes. I saw white fangs behind grinning red lips. She was evil to the core. She'd tricked the young captain into using the rope. It was a trap. After all, she'd used a snare to catch the patch fairy. Captain Kidd lowered his head again. She was funny, I remember that. And she was pretty in her own weird way. She had deep eyes. Also, she was so carefree. Everything was play to her. No matter what I said, she'd laugh. But she was... He reached for the right word. She was wayward. "You mean she was naughty?" I asked. "I mean she had something wrong with her heart." Captain Kidd sat a little straighter. "She thought grown-ups were all fools and made fun of everyone in authority, even the king. And she courted danger. She would climb up onto the stone lip of the well and twirl around the post. Her little black flats were always slipping on the rocks, but that only made her giggle. When I'd tell her to stop, to get down, she'd lean back over the pit and threaten to toss herself in, and sometimes she'd jump from one side to the other, daring me to catch her." He'd already told us the outcome of her carelessness. She'd fallen in. Dawn grimaced. "Did you ever find her?" "No. By the time I made my way into the red attic, she was already in the service of that land's king." "The Black Unicorn," Dawn said. I remembered the warning that the attic of the world was full of monsters. I stood up. "Look, Captain, I'm sorry about the fairy and all. I really am. But you have the wrong kids. Whatever you're planning, it's too much. We have to get home to our families." Dawn caught my hand, but I pulled it free, looking to my friends. "Seriously, guys, this is all super weird and interesting, but what will our moms think when that rocket blows up in the air above the neighborhood and none of us are seen again?" Ozzy glared at me. "Come on, this is once in a lifetime. You're going to ruin it." William leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Maybe Charles is right." He said this as if the admonition was painful. Ozzy threw up his hands. "Don't be ridiculous. It's not going to blow up, will it?" We all looked at the captain. "Well?" Dawn asked. "It could," the captain admitted. Dawn studied him. "But it's worth the risk?" "It is," he said. She was looking at him with an intensity I'd never seen before. "Why?" Captain Kidd got to his feet, straightening his vest. "Because the patch fairy is worth saving. In a world full of worries, people need to know someone good is watching." He placed a hand on Ozzy's shoulder. "Besides, haven't you ever wanted to ride a rocket?" He looked to William. "To see a world anew and all of its wonders?" Then to me. "And if monsters creep in dark places, don't you want to know how many heads they have? Strangely, I did. But would it matter what we learned or what amazing sights we saw if we were eaten in the process? The captain twirled his hat back onto his head and tugged the glossy black brim. Who's with me? Ozzy stood at once. Then William slowly slipped off the desk and stepped forward. Dawn looked to me. Charles, what about you? I could see in her eyes that she was going, but she wanted me to come with her. What kind of friend was I? What kind of leader, if I let them go without me into danger? I looked at the captain. Undeniably, he seemed to know what he was doing. The cap he wore fit him perfectly, not only in size, but in purpose. Yet, I would not go for him, not even close. And I would not go for some unknown fairy, even if she was a princess from some highaway land. But for my friends, yes, I would go for them.
There we have it. That's the end of Season 1. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you're excited to see what happens next. I guarantee it will be thrilling, many unexpected turns to come. If you like, join us on the off-season. We'll probably have a few short episodes between now and the launch of Season 2. As always, please tell a friend about the show. Wherever you listen, rate the podcast, write a review, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Also, the Blue Deck is live on YouTube. I finally got it done. Only the first show is up so far, but we will be rolling out more chapters over the coming weeks. If you'd like to reach out to me personally, I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Joseph Mazerac. That's JOSEPHMAZERAC. Also, visit our home on the web, thebluedeck.com.